Hi, I'm Alec from Kid to Kid, Practical Guide to Moving Around the World, Part 4. This is the longest video out of all 6, but it's definitely worth watching. In Part 3, I talk about losses and the importance of knowing when and how to properly close a door before you can open a new one. Now in Part 4, you'll be walking through the new door, writing a new chapter in your life. But before you can see that you've finally settled in, you'll have to go through the chaos phase. There's no escape. What I mean by chaos is that every single member of your family, including your pets, will be out of their comfort zone and on edge. My first advice to you is, be patient. This is just a phase. Until everyone is settled in their new town, it's unrealistic to hope for normalcy when your parents are still figuring out where to open a new bank account, learning how to install electricity, water, gas, and Wi-Fi in the new house, who to contact when nothing works, plus having to deal with handymen, painters, and moving companies, and getting all of the paperwork ready for the new job, for your new school, and for a local driver's license, for required hospital checks, and so on. At this stage, a day never has enough hours, so you can be happy if your parents manage to put some food on the table, even if it's takeout. I once spent Christmas eating turkey from a box because it was all that my mother could arrange from a grocery store at that time, when we just arrived here in America and were still living in a temporary residence. But you must be careful at this stage. Loving the idea of relocating or not, you must have looked up your new city before moving. So you should have developed some expectations. Well, it's never the way you imagine it to be. When I moved from South Korea to China, I thought that the experience would be similar to the Korean one, but it was nothing like it. When we moved to America from Germany, we imagined that everything would be easygoing, but we had forgotten that the devil lived in details. What I want to say is that when expectations are not met, people can overreact. What you got to do is get some basic information before you actually move. Not too little to avoid fear of the unknown, but just enough to allow yourself to be surprised. The fun part of every relocation are the little discoveries that we have every day. The best burger in town, the most comfortable movie theater, the coolest shop, the way the subway system works, or the meaning behind the way people dress. In China, wearing pajamas in the street is seen as an upscale thing because it means that you could actually afford them. But I wouldn't walk my dogs in my pajamas in the UAE, for example. You see, if these daily discoveries don't stimulate you, nothing else will. For a kid though, nothing will thrill you more than the thought of your new school. If you're lucky, you'll already be fluent in the school's language, but if you have to start from nothing, so be it. Have fun and feel privileged for learning a new language. The school will probably offer the linguistic support you need, and with time, hard work, good nerves, and optimism, you'll end up talking like any other kid. But until you reach that stage, it's best to keep a low profile with confidence. Don't be a typical stereotype. Walk around with your chin up, but don't say or do things that could be embarrassing. I would strongly recommend that you test your surroundings before causing any fuss, even if you don't have any language barriers. The key words are listen and observe. Observe what people bring for lunch, how they keep occupied during breaks, listen how they address school employees and each other, and listen to which TV shows they are talking about. among other things. I'll be talking more about the identity in the next video, but it suffices to say that although you might keep on eating your Korean kimchi at home, it doesn't mean that you've got to bring it to school. You might know everything about K-pop, but it doesn't mean that this is the kind of music that your new peers will be listening to. You need common ground to start a conversation. With time, you can certainly introduce K-pop and kimchi to your new friends, but until then, try to blend in first. If you're smart, you'll avoid isolation and avoid only talking to your old buddies, but instead, you need to get out there and try to make new friends while keeping the old ones too. Some people could be mean, but some can also be very welcoming to newcomers. As you feel comfortable in your new environment, you'll have the urge to properly introduce yourself to your new teachers and peers, showing your strengths, your sense of humor, your danger zones, and so on. Just don't do it all at once. If you give information about yourself, slowly you'll remain interesting and people will remain interested. When people talk too much about themselves, it can be really annoying, especially if you're telling them about the countless adventures that you've had all around the globe. Kids who haven't experienced that kind of thing will find it interesting at first, but then they might feel jealous and not only think, but also spread the word that you're making it all up just to impress them. This didn't happen to me, but it happened to a TCK friend of mine. In this case, choose the right timing and the conversation topics wisely before it becomes embarrassing. Sometimes, it's better to shut up for a minute. As for the many different school systems around the world, you might not continue in the same system that you're used to. If this is the case, again, relax. What you should avoid at all costs is cursing your new school and the people in it. Every school is different and has their particularities. No school is perfect, not one. All that you're gonna get out of this, of shaming your new school, only because you haven't gotten used to it yet, is loneliness. Be cool and open-minded. Over time, you'll learn to appreciate it. Appreciating your new school doesn't mean that you've gotta hate your old one. Making new friends doesn't mean that you have to forget about the good ones that you left behind. And learning new local traits doesn't mean that you've got to forget who you are or where you come from. Identity crisis is what I'll be looking at in the next video. Let's go.